Pure heavy breathing of the door. You run over to it and slam it shut. You sprint to your closet and shine your light. You see a dark silhouette of a bear. You pull the doors closed. Then you hear deep, distorted laughter. Too close to you to be outside. You turn around. Nightmare is perhaps one of FNAF 4's biggest mysteries, as even 11 years later, we do not have a solid consensus on what he really is. Many theorists have come up with a sort of makeshift reasoning to Nightmare that just feels too temporary and kinda weak. So today I hope to not only build on past theories, but also come up with my own. Well, what do we know? Yeah, not much. Just some basic info. We know his appearance can be described as follows. Quote, a giant terrifying version of Fredbear we've been shown in the minigames, but completely black, with a yellow hat and bow tie. Well, thank you, Freddy Files, for the most vague description possible. Anyways, he works mechanically the same as Fredbear, but way more aggressive. Like, I cannot even beat him, and I am good. Another notable thing about Nightmare is that his jump scare looks very different, resembling something similar to Golden Freddy's with a sort of distorted sound in a flat PNG image. Nightmare is also described as a cruel, twisted animatronic with an urge to kill. This is proven by his ultimate custom net line, quote, I am your wickedness made of flesh. I would also like to mention that Nightmare takes place of Fredbear on night 7, acting as a sort of final boss. The current theory, to sum it up, is Michael Afton, who he plays in FNAF 4, is enduring cruel experiments using hallucinogenic gas that William has set up in the sister location bunker. Well, that is a solid theory for the entirety of FNAF 4, and it does explain why the house layout is different from the minigames. So why am I not content with this theory? Well, it doesn't explain Nightmare, so yeah. So besides the fact that the community has basically forgotten about this guy, there was an older theory that I want to look into. So basically when the Twisted Ones novel released, it showed the idea of illusion discs and how they could change how an animatronic looks. So for many years, Nightmare was presumed to be a broken illusion disc, but this has since been proven wrong by the book Datophobia. First, the book shows William running experiments on kids using the gas to make them see the Nightmare animatronics, and then that explains why the sister location breaker room map shows the FNAF 4 bedroom, along with the Fun with Plush Trap minigame. So if this is the current theory, and it explains nothing about Nightmare, so while everything else fits, it doesn't explain him. Then again, this is FNAF we're talking about, and we've been arguing over a bear for 11 years, so I guess that's nothing new. So let me throw my hat into the ring. Now my theory. I believe that Nightmare is not just an illusion disc, not a hallucination, but the ghost of the crying child coming back to haunt Michael Afton. Now there are going to be two sides of people here. The cool people that say, hey, that's kind of cool, and the other people who don't agree. So where's my evidence that I'm not just pulling this out of Scott's trash can? Well, young viewer, let's see. First, why would Michael even be haunted by his own brother? Well, Michael was a bit of an asshole. To put it in perspective, the crying child is often forgotten about, with Michael often looking after him, and Elizabeth was the favorite child shown in sister location in Pizza Set. Michael was his only babysitter, and he would scare and prank the crying child consistently using his Foxy mask. Along with that, Michael would lock the crying child in his room and not let him out. But worst of all, is Michael and his friends are the reason that he died. If you have not played FNAF 4, you would still know that Michael and his friends wanted to pull a prank on the crying child, and they put him in Fredbear's mouth to try and scare him. That was the bite of 83. So that is the reason the crying child would want to haunt Michael. Looking at his design, as it is very different from the other animatronics, first he has a color shift from Nightmare Fredbear, who killed the crying child, and his transparency is unusual and could be Scott's way of showing that Nightmare isn't a physical animatronic but rather a ghost. He is a black and gray version of Fredbear, and black and gray in many cases is closely related with death and guilt. The final thing I want to touch on with his appearance would be that we can clearly see a brain through the transparent texture. And this might mean that he has a proper consciousness, and not an artificial one like the other nightmare animatronics. You could also link the brain back to the bite of 83, as brain damage is the reason for the crying child's death. Another piece of evidence is the UCN voice line, quote, "I am your wickedness made of flesh," perfectly showing that the crying child is trying to show Michael that he's a horrible person, making him feel guilty. Now, my final piece of evidence is going to stray away from Nightmare, but stick with me. So in the game files, Nightmare is called Shadow Freddy. This is a huge problem. Who is Shadow Freddy? Well, this is going to be the weirdest, most controversial part of my video. I believe that Shadow Freddy is the crying child part of Golden Freddy. Now, to sum it up, Shadow Freddy is a ghost, and Golden Freddy is a suit with supernatural abilities. And with the two spirits possessing Golden Freddy, the crying child and the vengeful spirit, the crying child is the Shadow Freddy part. Okay, hear me out. If I get 20 likes, I'll make a video on that. So, Shadow Freddy is also the crying child. I know, I sound crazy, but that matches with all the nightmare evidence, so yeah. Now it is time for the fair counter arguments, and me, sadly, having to be wrong. The first counter argument in this section is the other nightmare animatronics aren't ghosts. Yes, that is exactly my point. Nightmare is very different from the other nightmare animatronics, proven by all the points I stated earlier. On the other hand, we have a very solid counter argument being that Shadow Freddy is not the crying child. This is the biggest argument for the entire video, as in some ways, I agree. I'm a bit confused right now on Shadow Freddy, but this is a counter argument to the last point I have right now is that Shadow Freddy is heavily implied through visual design to be somewhat linked to Golden Freddy, as they are very similar, and they share a lot of characteristics along with their supernatural abilities. While I don't believe I've fully solved Nightmare, I believe my theory is very solid, but with a bit of caveats, mainly being the Shadow Freddy question. If I get 20 likes, I will try to come up with a good theory on Shadow Freddy, but don't be surprised if it takes a while. Anyways, if you have made it to this point in the video, you are a legend, and it means so much to me, and this is a new channel, so if you want, subscribe. Go check out my videos, and have a great day.
Pizza, 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 pizza.